How are you today? This is Matthew with Love Buddy. The more you love, the more you live. That's kind of a new motto. See how that works out. I thought that up yesterday. I think that sounds pretty cool. It's pretty informative. The more you love, the more you live. You have more meaning to your life. You have more enjoyment, more happiness, more joy in your life. The more love you have in your life. And love means so many things, right? It doesn't just mean romantic love. It doesn't just mean love for your neighbor or love for your God, but it can mean many, many different types, expressions of the same love. And if we are in touch with what that basic foundation of love is, that is calm, compassionate, respectful, nurturing, we live that in our lives. We live that in our job. We live that with our family. We live that with our neighbors. We live that with our home, with the way we take care of our body and the way we treat the earth. We're going to have more life. We're going to have more meaning in our life. We're going to have more joy in our life. We're going to feel more alive. So anyway, that's what that's about. So what's the topic today? The topic today has to do with feedback styles. What is love and what is not? So feedback I have found to be like a very important part of life, a very important part of communication, a very important part of us learning and growing and interacting as human beings on earth and in our life. If we don't get feedback, if we don't give feedback, maybe it can really slow our learning process. Maybe you can really hamper our relationships. It would make our relationships less close. Because when you have a really good friend, the really good friend will say, hey, that guy's not right for you. He doesn't love you. He doesn't care about you. Something we wouldn't know, right, if we're all infatuated with somebody. Or if somebody says, look, I really think your piano playing is really great. And I think you've got really great potential. But I think sometimes when you play, you rush a little bit, or you do this or that. That's what it sounds like to me. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But that's what it sounds like to me. So just want to share that with you. Feedback can be a really tough thing. Sometimes because feedback can be a difficult thing to do, it can be difficult to give feedback to people. Why? Because of how we react sometimes. Sometimes we don't want to hear it. What, you don't like my piano playing? Or look, I love that guy. And then, the nightmare is she marries the guy. You're telling her this guy's not right for you, and then she ends up marrying the guy. I think that was on a Seinfeld episode. It's a really tough situation. So I remember I told a friend years ago, a good friend, his wife is having problems with drinking, and I was trying to be helpful. I was trying to support him. But what I did was in my feedback to him that he didn't ask for, he was just telling me, wow, she's having some challenges with drinking. And I came back with, hey man, people that drink a lot of times, they're self-destructive, when we're addicts. When we're addicts, we hurt ourselves, right? But I was mentioning her and I was saying, she's not going to be able to be a good wife to you. You have to decide. Well, they're still together. Things worked out. I was totally wrong about that. Maybe she's had more challenges with her drinking. Maybe she hasn't. I don't know. But they're still together, and that's their business, and that's their thing. And with my trying to give feedback, I'm sure I said something. I'm sure that was hurtful. I'm sure that was negative. I'm sure that was not helping their relationship at all. So feedback can be a real hard thing to do. And that's why a lot of people just go to silence. Even when it comes to somebody saying, hey, what do you think about my new business? What do you think about my new car? What do you think about my new girlfriend? Most people, to be shrewd, to be careful, to keep a simple life of kind of emotional isolation, relatively emotional, they won't say anything. They could be thinking the most extreme thing like, no, that car is it's gonna break down, it's a terrible car, you should never have bought that. Or your business, it's gonna be a failure. What a stupid idea. They could be thinking these things, but they don't tell you. They're just silent in return. Or even when it comes to the situation, hey, will you go out with me? You know, men put their neck on the line. They're vulnerable because that's the way the American culture works. And they say, hey, well, you know, do you want to feel like going for dinner sometime? You know, and then maybe the woman, depending upon her communication skills, her love skills, her feedback skills, because feedback is love if we do it with the intention of love, if we understand love, compassion, understanding. If she doesn't understand that, she might say, oh yeah, okay, no, I'm busy this week, but you know, maybe next week, see, maybe next time. The guy's like, okay, great. That's basically a yes, it's just not right now. When inside you might be thinking, I would never, ever date this guy. There's a girl that I was falling in love with, that I was really excited about a couple of years ago, and she finally came back and said to me, I will never marry you. It was beautiful. It was freeing. At least I knew. And I didn't feel rejected because I've been through some relationships before. I've been through love relationships before. I'm going to make a note right now because that's a good topic. Love relationships and how they relate to real love, genuine love, or infatuation. Anyway, when she said that, it was so full of love, I thought. Isn't that funny? She said, I will never, ever marry you. And that was great. That was fantastic. It freed me up to find a person who cared about me, who wanted to marry me. It let me know that she was no longer someone that I should put my attention on in that way. And I think it freed her up too, because she knew that I wasn't going to be pestering her anymore to say, hey, you know, maybe in the future, blah, 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 you know, whatever. So it was really a great thing. So she gave that feedback and I was able to take it. So she kind of matched my level of what I was able to hear. Sometimes, if we're really, really careful, sometimes we can offend somebody. So this feedback is an art. It's not a skill, it's an art. Feedback is, because it's got to have its intention from love, compassion, understanding, respect, nurturing. If we come from that place, if we understand love, our feedback is going to get better and better as we learn, as we practice. Still going to make mistakes. Some people are still going to be offended no matter what, but we're going to be much, much more effective at our feedback. And that could be a really very cool thing. Okay, so silence, some people say no answer is an answer. I've brought this up before. I absolutely disagree with that. No answer means no answer. Absence of answer. No answer. If you don't answer someone, that's not an answer. Maybe what you're telling them nothing. How much is it? How much is it for that cup? I want to buy the cup. The salesperson doesn't tell you how much the price of the cup. You're interested, you're asking a question, you're making an inquiry. Now, what kind of salesperson is going to not tell you? They're just going to walk away. How effective is that going to be for their interactions? How wise are they? How effective are they at communicating? How capable are they of dealing with someone? Maybe they don't want to sell. Who knows what's going on in that person's head? Because when I want to buy the cup, I don't know what's going on there. I don't really care. I'm just saying, look, how much for the cup? And I don't know what their head trip is. Well, maybe I need to care, but how can I find out? It becomes a lot more difficult for me. If I want to be a caring person, I want to be a compassionate person. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe I don't know that. Maybe I can't tell. So I do my best just to, nonchalantly, okay, well, how much for the cup? And then they walk away, they don't really answer. It leaves me completely kind of in a mystery. And they're maybe expecting me. A lot of times when we get this no answer phenomenon, the person is expecting us to know that it's not for sale, they're in a bad mood, they're not open, who knows what. They're expecting us to know something. So when you do this no answer game, you're expecting that person to know something, and you're refusing to meet them at their level. And maybe you're even demonizing them and saying, they're just playing with me. They should know this. They already know that. But we have to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially people that we don't know. So when it comes to no answer, I don't think that's very skillful. And if we do feel that the person is harassing us, that they're just playing a game, that it's not a sincere answer, we can tell them that. We give them a chance, at least give them a chance to say, look, I just think you're playing with me. I don't know what's the matter with you, but I just think you're playing with me, and I really don't want to deal with you anymore. At least the person knows. If you say goodbye, if you don't want to take their calls anymore, you don't want to deal with them anymore, at least they know where you stand. And that can be a revelation to the other person. Wow. It could be that, oh, she's on to me. All right, next. Or it could be, wow, I had no idea. I'm really sorry. How can I approach you in a way that makes you feel like I'm not playing with you, where you feel like I'm sincere? Because I really am sincere. And I don't mean to be asking rhetorical questions or silly questions. I'm sorry, I don't mean to come across that way. So when we open up and when we give good feedback and we are honest and we're good at communicating and we have these communication skills and this feedback art, we can deal with people on a more loving level, not on this cold, self-righteous level where I'm right, I don't want to put up with your garbage or whatever, things like that. Because most of the time, believe it or not, most of the time in the world, if we're an honest and open and sincere person with other people, they're going to be that way with us. And when they are a sociopath, when their intention is to hurt, they're going to stand out like a sore thumb. We're going to know right away. It's going to be really obvious. Either this guy really wants to be sincere and really wants to have a conversation here, or they don't at all. So communication skills and sanity and ability to love, that's what we're talking about right now. The more we have communication skills, the more we have this feedback art, the more we're able to love. It's a kind of a sanity that's connected to love. Because when we love, we're more sane, we're more calm, we're more conscious, we're more aware. We don't bring baggage to the conversation, to the relationship, to the interaction with the world. We don't bring wild, harmful, out of touch solutions. Because we're conscious, because we're present, because we're aware, then we're able to deal with the situation as it is, not some imagined situation that we might have in our head. And it makes us much, 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 much more effective in life because we're aware of what's going on and we're able to think of a good solution, an appropriate solution, something that's effective. So we get these misunderstandings when we get feedback. People don't understand about feedback. There can be misunderstandings, right? If we offer feedback to somebody and they think we're coming from a bad place, a critical place, a negative place, trying to disempower them. If your intention is to nurture and empower somebody, that's got to come through in your feedback. And that's got to, sometimes you got to be a little persistent because maybe their face will drop. So there can be misunderstandings when we give feedback, and there can be misunderstandings about feedback. Like what we're talking about now, feedback is essential, it's vital. It's a huge benefit to people when they want to actualize. It's great to hear feedback. Doesn't mean you have to take it as the gospel truth. Doesn't mean that it's always right, but it's great to get some people's opinions. If you're saying, hey, you know, this thing is really a problem, and people say, wow, this guy's got a weird agenda, this guy's nuts, there's nothing wrong. Vaccines is a good example right now. We've got people, I don't know enough about it, and I've heard both sides. I've heard people say, hey, polio's been eliminated. And then the people that are anti-vaxxers, people against vaccine, they say something like, it would have been eliminated anyway, or it wasn't the vaccine that did that. And I really don't know enough about it, and I'm still kind of learning about vaccines. And so people can get really extreme on this thing, and they can really be super sensitive, and we can have misunderstandings about that. So it really depends on our intention. So looking at intention with feedback, you know, are we really trying to communicate? Do we have an agenda already about vaccines, for example? Sometimes we'll freak out about something. We get some idea, we get some strong opinion about it, and then We can't accept anybody else's opinion. Politics does this a lot. And if we really get an extreme view that all the Democrats are bad, or all the Republicans are bad, or the Green Party's nuts, or whatever, then it really it destroys our ability to communicate in a positive way, to give feedback in a positive way. So feedback can be really vital. And if our intention with feedback is to share how we feel, is to try to resolve, maybe a lot of times the feedback, the main reason is we're trying to resolve a discrepancy. This guy thinks those pants go with that shirt. We'll use something as important as this. He thinks those pants go with that shirt, and I just think it looks really stupid. So if I want to give feedback about that, because I see that discrepancy, wait a second. A 6 looks like a 9 upside down. So if you're standing over there and you're looking at a 6 on the ground, when I look at it on the ground, it looks like a 9 to me. There's absolutely no change. It's just our viewpoint. Viewpoint is everything. And we have to be aware of viewpoint when we're communicating with people. We have to put ourselves in their shoes. We have to be empathetic, We have to be sensitive to who they are, where they're coming from, and we have to be open to that. So all these qualities are love qualities. And they help us to be able to say, really? You like this shirt with those pants? And the guy might come back with, well, actually, I don't, but they're the only thing that's clean, or for whatever, reason they might come back with. Or they might say, yeah, I like it. And is that wrong? If you want to start putting right and wrong restrictions on fashion, that's the first class ticket to hell. Because fashion is such a personal thing, and it's a changing thing, and it's a dynamic thing, and it's just a matter of opinion, and there are a lot of different motivations behind fashion. Sometimes it's like shock fashion, right? People want to wear something to shock people or to create a certain image, things like that. So if we want to give feedback about fashion, okay, great, but we better be really open-minded. If you want to give feedback about someone's religion, okay, great, but you better be really open-minded. You better be very sensitive and aware of that people will take these things very seriously. You want to give feedback about military, like I had before, military-industrial complex. You've got to be aware of the blowback. We get blowback. We get people that are offended by what we say because we don't know where they're coming from. We didn't realize, wow. I had no idea. I don't know how I could be so ignorant, but I was. About soldiers and how loyal they are. They get this Semper Fi thing, right? Is that from Marines? And I can't remember what it means. Something about, I can't remember, I'm sorry. But I knew at one point. And this is sacred. So the things that are sacred to us can be our greatest downfall. And that can cause a lot of blowback in conversations. If you bring up something to somebody, this guy wants to be a concert pianist. That's his goal. That's all he cares about. That's all he wants to do. And you criticize his piano playing. You give feedback that is critical to the piano playing. Wow. You're going to touch on that sacred spot. So it goes both ways. It's both the feedback that we give and the feedback that we accept. If we're being loving both ways, if the guy tells me, hey, I don't think you should quit your day job. And there's a lot of that, right? Parents tell that to their kids. Kid wants to be a guitar player in a rock band. And the parents say, don't quit your day job because the kid's still learning. Okay, so we've got two things here. We've got the giver and the receiver of the feedback. The giver, okay, we've talked about that quite a bit. How we have to be sensitive, how we have to be aware. And maybe we should ask some questions first. If we want to be loving, if we want to be nurturing, if we want to be helpful, and we have this discrepancy in our mind that, wow, they think this and I really think the other thing. And we want to explore that. And we think by exploring that, we can help that person. Because maybe we're helping them see something they didn't know. So the giver of the feedback needs to maybe ask some questions first and say something like, how's the guitar playing going? And are you enjoying it? And How do you feel about your progress? These can all be leading questions, when the person might start to say, what are you getting at? That's possible. So every situation is different. I'm obviously in a learning mode about this feedback thing. Okay, so we have to be aware when we're going to give some feedback. The receiver of the feedback has to also be flexible, open, and realize this person is just trying to help me. This person's just trying to nurture me. Positive vibes all around, nothing to be critical of, nothing to be negative about, nothing to get angry about. Let this person in, this person loves us, this person's trying to love us. Maybe they're totally wrong in my opinion. Maybe I'm a great guitar player, they just don't understand my kind of music. And that's a lot what happens with parents and kids anyway. You've got to be aware of that. Parents and kids are so different for so many reasons. So receiving that, we have to be able to, okay, I know where the person's coming from. It's like, yeah, do you feel like that? Okay. If we are using love in our hearts, if we're living love, if we're in the love zone about guitar playing, it doesn't matter what anybody says. Yeah, we appreciate it. Yeah, if we want to be in a popular band and we want to sell music, or we want to have big concerts and we want to have people moved by our music, and we want to just have the joy of playing, and all of us together just having this wonderful feeling of this fantastic music. We're going to want some feedback, but we're not going to accept it all like it's fact. And we're going to use that feedback to whatever point that we need to help us further what our goals are. And one person, a parent, making a comment that they don't understand the music, blah, 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 it's too loud, or it's too fast, who knows? That's okay. I appreciate. Thanks for telling me that. I appreciate that. And, I'll think about what you said, or maybe I won't think about it. Whatever, however you want to respond. But respond with some compassion for that person, and respond maybe with some gratitude. Because feedback is a really hard thing to give, isn't it? It can be really hard. We have to say just the right words at just the right time, and we have to respond in the right way. But if we really want to love that person, that's what we're going to do. Because that's our intention, is to nurture and empower the person and help them to actualize and be the best version of themselves that they can become. And if we don't have that intention, we better find it, or don't give the feedback. We better look at ourselves and say, hey, why do I want to put this person down? Why do I want to hurt this person? Why do I want to criticize this person? Why do I want to bust their balloon? Okay, so anyway, that's the idea about feedback. And that's how feedback can be a very, very loving thing. But it also can be like walking in a field of landmines. And it takes skill, it takes intention, and it's an art. Feedback is an art. And it's something we all can learn to do really well. Some people are great at it. Most people I've met are a whole lot better than I am, I'll tell you. So I've got a lot to learn in that area. And that's one of the reasons why it's a vital thing to me, because maybe as much as I complain or feel frustrated that I don't get feedback in my life, maybe has a direct relationship to my lack of the skill and the art of giving feedback to others. Maybe there's a connection there. I did want to mention at the beginning, and I'm going to mention it now because I forgot. Thank you for your feedback. When we give loving feedback, it's golden. So your feedback is golden, and I promise to do my best to accept it and not get upset and not make it difficult for you to share what you want to share. I promise to be open and do my best to really listen, really hear, and understand where you're coming from. And then maybe it'll be really beneficial for me. Maybe it could be really, really a positive thing. So please don't hold back. I'll do my best to be open and make it easy for you. Okay, so I've got some links here at the bottom. I'm going to wrap it up now. There's a free ebook. There are courses that are coming up. There's the Facebook page, a link for that. There's a link for our community work that we're working on. We're doing here in the Philippines where we live. And tomorrow at the same time, same place, every day, 10 p.m. New York time. whatever time that is in your time zone, you're welcome. And your feedback, of course, is very welcome. Okay, that's it for today. So thank you so much. I hope this idea, this thought, this discussion about feedback has been helpful. Hopefully it's been positive for you. And I hope it helps us to open up the discussion more about how we can love, what love means, and how we can effectively bring more love to the world, because we really need it, don't we? Okay, my name's Matthew. This is Love Buddy Daily Live Video. I love you. Have a great day.